We're going to look at how to get started with your magic loop, casting on, dividing, and getting it going. As you know, I'm a big fan of magic loop because this is a sample of our harvester hat that we're doing for the HusKAL. I'll be able to finish this whole project with just the one needle. If you're doing a 16-inch round, you're going to have to either switch to a magic loop or use double points or do double points the whole way. Magic loop allows you to work on very small circumferences, socks, even little pumpkins you might knit, or little sleeves on a baby sweater, etc., etc. So I'll give you tips on how to do this. I'd really encourage you to practice it. Once you master it, you're going to be able to knit a lot of things in the round. Okay, for demonstration purposes, our hat asks us to cast on 108 stitches. I did 60 here, and just for simplification, it's the same technique for no matter what you cast on. I like to use a 40-inch cord, especially if I'm doing 108 stitches. If I'm doing something like 10 stitches, then you might use a 24-inch cord, but I like to have ample cord to swing around. So what you'll do is you'll cast on regular, how you would, whatever your pattern calls for, cast those stitches up and onto your needle, and then you're going to slide them into the middle. Slide them into the middle of the cord, and then we're going to divide them. And so in this instance, I've got 60. And what I actually like to do for joining to work in the round is I cast on an extra stitch. So whatever my pattern calls for, I have cast on 108. I would have cast on 109, or if I'm this example, I'm doing 60, so I've cast 61 stitches on. This would be the hat that I showed in the beginning is a provisionally done hat. So provisional cast on with a double thick brim. This would be like if you're just going to knit the brim straight out, which most hats are done. So you would count, and remember we always like to count by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, and I've got 31 on this side. So I go in the middle, and then you just bend your circular needle. And again, for magic loop, CHOW, hands down. The red cord, hands down. You can fight it with other cords, but you'll come get the red cord because that's what makes the difference. And then you're going to pull, and you have to be careful so as not to pull the stitches off. And you'll put the stitches up on the needle as such. I like to have the working yarn to the back, and I'll show you why here in a minute, but the working yarn is to the back. The other thing that you'll do is you'll see that you kind of have two sides to your cast on, a smooth side and then what I call the butts side. And so what I like to do is I make sure that all of those butts are on the inside. And then I'm going to look right here to make sure that it's not twisted. It's very important that your project's not twisted, because if it's twisted, your hat will be what we call a Mobius, and you won't be able to put it on because it'll have a twist. I've done it, and it will happen, but if you'll check and then double check, that's what's important. All right, now let's take a close look. I've got my working yarn here. I like to put that working yarn up and over the back for this first step because it helps to create less bulk. And to join to work in the round, I simply pinch the needles with my index finger between them, and I take the stitch off the front needle and then I bring it to the back needle. I just trade the places like that. And then what you do is this needle or this stitch is attached to your working yarn. So you've got some give there. So you can pull that out and you drop it off, because remember, we cast on an extra stitch. Tighten it up, snug it up, both pull the tail and the working yarn, and you're ready to go. Now, before I get started, I'm going to double check again. So I'm going to look, and I'm going to make sure that all my butts are facing in and that there's no twist right here. And then I'll be set and ready to go. I'm going to do some rounds so that I have some fabric here to show you what it looks like, and I'll give you the tips for pulling out and doing your magic loop. All right, I've knit a little bit of fabric here, and so I think it'll be easier for you to see the demonstration. With a magic loop, I often use these little clips to clip them together. And you're knitting in the round, so you're creating a round, but you're also knitting a front side and a back side. So there's really the back side and the front side. And you'll pull the back side needle around to begin knitting across these stitches. Then you'll turn and knit across the back stitches. So one of the things that's important is with your working yarn, when you're ready to work, is you throw it up and over the back needle. If you don't do that, you have a tendency to do a yarn over where you get extra stitches. If you get an extra yarn over in there, just drop it off when you come back around. But up and over the top to the back, then you're going to hold the front needle and pull the back needle. Now I just kind of put my index finger between, pull the back needle around to work in the round, get in position, get your yarn tension. So if you're provisional, you would get tension that way, and then you would knit this first stitch. Now, one of the things that I learned that has changed my magic loop world is sometimes you can get what they call laddering here. And if you go in and grab the stitch here, it's still hard to get that cinched up. I learned to come up and over the cord and knit to that first stitch. And that even shortens the distance my yarn has to travel and helps me avoid ladders. It's changed how my laddering, especially in my socks, and I use it now in everything I do, from sleeves to hats. And then you're going to knit across. Now, I'll pull back so you can see that you have the loops. Some people don't like the loops. I find that once you get used to them, I don't even notice them. But this is this is the concept of the magic loop. And so as you knit across, then you will see that maybe the size of your loops change as you go along. And you push it up. Again, you're working across the front. And the whole while, I'm not even holding on to that back. It's just waiting there, waiting for me to knit it once I've gotten across. So once you get across, then I have several things that I kind of say and that I do that help me to remember what to do. So I tuck my fabric down and I pinch the back needle, that needle that was just hanging there waiting for us. And then I turn it, and I turn it clockwise or like a pancake, like this. You do not do this, because if you do that, you'll start knitting back across where you just knit. So you pinch, you turn, then you push, push, push. So if you've taken classes with me, you've heard me say these things before. Push, push, push the stitches up onto the needle. I know that there is a great temptation to go pull this here, but what happens when you pull, as you can imagine, is you pull your needle out of the stitches. Okay, so now I'm ready to go again. My working yarn is on the back needle. Now I'm going to knit across this needle, and I know that that's where I finished because that's where my yarn is attached to. Again, I throw it up and over the back. I hold it together, and then I pull the back needle where that yarn is coming off of, and I'm going to knit across the remaining stitches. This is a purl. Again, I'm going to come over that red needle, the red cord, I'm sorry, the red cord, so that my distance is short to the stitch behind it, and begin knitting across. I have a separate tutorial in my technique section on YouTube that you can watch just that, how to avoid ladders. But when I first learned to do that, it was awkward, and I kind of had to watch the video or had to think about it several times for what I was doing. And now that I've mastered it, it's really about that muscle memory. And the muscle memory is simply knows what to do. So I'm going to show it again to you. You will finish off. And again, I'm not messing with anything in the back. It's just waiting for me there. And decide on what you will say. So you're finished, you pinch, and then you pancake or you turn. Then you push, push, push. Stitches up onto the needle. I'm at the beginning of my round. I don't really mark my beginning of my round, although you could clip in a marker here because your tail kind of tells you that. You don't really put a marker for beginning of round when you're working on magic loop because it's already there. You throw the yarn back and up and over the back, and then you pull. And when you go to knit into that first stitch, you go over the red cord. You don't come in under here. I know it seems like it would be the same, but you can see there's a longer distance. So you come over the red cord, just kind of lean into it, knit that first stitch, and continue on. Your magic loop will be here, and you'll work across your project. Really encourage you to embrace magic loop. It makes your knitting simpler, in my opinion, as far as tools that you need, etc., etc. So this is a great project for you to practice your magic loop, and hopefully these videos will help you. You can watch them over and over again.